Hello there, and welcome to another Weekly Wisdom. Every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., we like to give you a set of tips and tricks related to diversity, equity, and inclusion and how you can make your workplace culture more inclusive for all of your employees. And I'm here today because I'm excited to offer 3 books related to supporting your journey as a trauma-informed leader. Again, we do these weekly wisdoms every week, Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m., and we try to do them in less than 10 minutes with tips and tricks that you can take right into your experience as a leader or as a practitioner. You can take them and you can make your workplace culture more inclusive, more effective. You can check some of your approaches and see if any of this can be integrated to enhance that experience for your teams and your people. Now, this topic around being a more trauma-informed leader, there is so much here. And today we're just going to talk about 3 books that you might want to pick up to become more trauma-informed. That said, a lot of this topic around being trauma-informed requires lots of reading, lots of studying. There are folks who go and get certifications on becoming more trauma-informed leaders. And while we would not say that this is a specialization that C-Network offers, we do integrate elements of trauma-informed leadership practices into inclusive leadership practices and training because we feel that there's a lot within the idea of being trauma-informed that can support all employees of all sorts of backgrounds, because as human beings, we are all prone to experiencing trauma and to unfortunately having some of that trauma affect us in our daily lives. And that includes in the way that we show up at work. So let's start specifically by giving you a sense of what it means to be a trauma-informed leader for those of you who are just hearing about this for the first time or could use a refresher on what it is. Trauma-informed leaders accept that people, including themselves, will struggle and sometimes suffer from past and current traumatic experiences. Therefore, it is up to trauma-informed leaders to be able to recognize the signs of traumatic stress, communicate effectively and compassionately in times of crisis, and support those they lead in becoming more resilient. This is a quote from the Workplace Peace Institute. They are specialized in trauma-informed leadership coaching and training, and there are some great resources on their website related to this topic. One of those resources is this definition that allows just a little bit more detail into what trauma-informed leaders are and how they can really benefit their organizations and their teams through this perspective. Now, one thing I will say is that we have become more familiar with this topic of trauma-informed leadership and the power behind it as we entered and are still navigating some of the after effects of the pandemic in its height, where a lot of our mental health considerations were front and center across organizations, where we realized that it's important for us to recognize the ways that trauma can affect each of us as leaders and each of our team members. And while not everyone had a specifically traumatic experience during the pandemic, a lot of folks experienced either trauma due to how intense that time was, maybe due to loss during that time. And a lot of folks also noticed that they were more impacted and affected by previous traumatic experiences than maybe they had realized previously. And it's something that has allowed us all to have deeper conversations about trauma in the workplace and about how to be a more trauma-informed leader. So let's talk about specifically not just this topic, but the 3 books that can support your journey as a trauma-informed leader. And again, these are just 3 books. People spend years and years studying this topic, and those 3 books are just a starting point for you if you are looking to develop some of your acumen and your skills in this arena. The first one is a book that you might have already heard of, that is very powerful in outlining the way that the body and mind are affected by traumatic experiences. This book is called The Body Keeps the Score. It is not specifically related to how trauma shows up at work, but it can be a great primer for people who are thinking about how impactful trauma can be. So the little quote that we pulled here, it says that this is essential reading for anyone interested in understanding and treating traumatic stress and the scope of its impact on society. And that quote comes from Alexander McFarland, director of the Center for Traumatic Stress Studies. So that's my first book recommendation. And I have read all of these books and do recommend them from the standpoint of how they've helped support me and my team with our understanding of trauma-informed leadership. The next book on our list is called Mindsight. Mindsight is all about raising awareness into how you perceive your thoughts and your own experiences. So again, trauma-informed leaders are aware of the fact that they are not immune to experiencing trauma or to allowing their traumatic experiences or history to affect how they show up at work or how they show up in their personal lives. And so Mindsight is a book all about how you can start shifting your perspective and gain a better self-awareness of your own thoughts and emotions through certain practices and neuroscience that is offered in this book. The quote that we pulled here, it says, Mindsight is a literary MRI, a mind-blowing book that will change the way you think about the way you think. Ariana Huffington. And of course, we are not sponsoring or sponsored by any of these books or authors. This is, again, just an opportunity for you if you've been looking for a book to pick up and you're hoping to become a more inclusive leader. This is an angle that you can explore. And I am just trying to give you some suggestions for how you can grow that skill set and muscle a little bit more through some of these books. The last one I'll share is specific to the experience of people of color in the context of work and in society. So it explores some of the inequities that do exist in society, and it does touch on some elements of work and the ways that this is a specific challenge for many people of color just due to what it's like to be historically marginalized in society. So it says, this book is an essential tool to understand and heal intergenerational trauma. And this is a quote from J. Eric Gentry, PhD. Now, this is another potential book to pick up. And again, it is specific to a certain population, but it can help offer some context for how you can build a more trauma-informed leadership toolkit for yourself. Let's go through these again quickly, and then we'll close out because we do these in 10 minutes or less. So the first book that can help you build your skill set as a trauma-informed leader is The Body Keeps the Score. The next we're suggesting is called Mindsight. And the last we are suggesting is The Pain We Carry. Each of these books can be useful in helping you develop your skill set as a more trauma-informed leader, but please don't stop there. There is so much more content around this, and there's so much to learn. I do also want to emphasize that we support leaders with inclusive leadership training, and this is a topic that we do touch on. There are some practices, as I mentioned earlier, that can be really useful in just creating a more inclusive workplace culture. Here you can see that you can find us on cnetwork.com/workshops. You can also schedule a consultation with us at cnetwork.com/consultation. And you can follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, and we have a newsletter. So find us in each of those places. And also next week, Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern for another Weekly Wisdom. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.